Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 1, I Was an Outcast Liege. Chapter 54, Offensive. The censor who was accompanying the group was called Yu Xiaozhe, a low-ranking investigating censor of the 7th rank. This position was the same as the chief supervising secretary of the various offices. It was a low-ranking post, but it came with great authority. He had the power to inspect and supervise, so it was the most appropriate for him to step forth and mediate between the two men. It was the dead of winter at the moment, but Yu Xiaozhe was so anxious that he was sweating a lot. Even though he often ventured out on field works and inspection rounds to do his assignments, he had never been put in such a difficult position before. He could not afford to offend either sides. This was just great. Due to his shouting, the two men who had been in a heated exchange were now both looking at him. Yu Xiaozhe earnestly did his best to persuade them. "It is early still. I'll give over the search warrant in a while to the viceroy to look over slowly. I have it with me." As he spoke, he took out the document from his bosom and handed it to Xiao Qiye. Xiao Qiye flipped through it briefly and looked towards Chen Yang, who immediately said, "This way, Your Excellency the Judge." Yu Xiaozhe clasped his hands again and continued in his local dialect, "T is how it should be done. Should always go by the book. All o' us are doing official business fo His Majesty. Ain't no need fo everyone to get all flustered. It's cold outside. Gu Jin, please invite this." Xiao Qiye hesitantly came to a pause. Yu Xiaozhe cleared his throat tactfully and resumed his official speech. "This humble official's surname is Yu, given name Xiaozhe with the courtesy name of Yujing. This one thanks the viceroy in advance for your kindness, but I'll give the tea a miss. There's still official business to be done, so this humble official still has to follow after His Excellency, the Judge." Xiao Qiye did not continue to make things difficult for him and gave a slight nod of his head. Gu Jin stepped forward and bowed in respect to Yu Xiaozhe, then led him to the courtyard. ******. Shenzequan ascended the stone steps. Xiao Qiye's study was already open. Attendants, with all their heads bowed, stood on both sides. Chen Yang said, "This is the Viceroy's study. Your Excellency, please go ahead." Shenzequan raised his hand, and Ji Qingqing turned to the side to nod to the other Jin Yi behind him. Everyone then dispersed and began to look through the books on the open shelves. Chen Yang motioned to Ding Tao to keep watch here and continued to lead Shenzequan further. After turning around the veranda and passing through the gate, they arrived at Xiao Qiye's bedchamber. Chen Yang said, "This is the Viceroy's bedroom. There are many objects bestowed by the Emperor. Thus, I'd like to ask of His Excellency the Judge to examine them personally." After thanking him for the trouble, Shenzequan strode in. Xiao Qiye's room was large, but it was surprisingly simple and tidy. A table with horsehooves legs sat behind the screen, with a few military books set on top of it. There were no floral decorations or antique calligraphy and paintings, only a territory map of the Great Zhou hanging horizontally on the wall. Shenzequan picked up the military book and opened it for a look. It was clean inside, as if no one had ever read it. After a while, the door closed. With his eyes never leaving the book, Shenzequan said, "Accompanying censor, you will be coming here once he has finished checking the study." Xiao Qiye undid his overcoat and said, "Just checking the study alone will keep him occupied until noon. Fu Linye sure is something else. In order to dodge me, he shoved you here." Shenzequan gently flipped through the pages and said, "He just wants to complete the investigation quickly and close the case, without offending anyone." Xiao Qiye turned his head sideways and looked at Shenzequan's silhouette through the screen. He asked, "Why are you hiding in there?" Shenzequan replied, "I'm checking the accounts." Xiao Qiye said, "The things you should be auditing are not there." Shenzequan closed the book and put it back on the tabletop. Then he spoke, "I wouldn't know that until I'm done checking." Xiao Qiye raised a finger to tap on the screen. He said, Why does it sound like you're checking something else? Rebellious texts, ledgers of bribes, military correspondences, Shen Zequin said to the screen, I have to check for them all. You missed something out, didn't you? Xiao Qiye said. Aren't you going to check for lewd poems and erotic arts? I'm here on official business. Shen Zequin said softly. Besides, it's broad daylight. I wouldn't dare to be impetuous. The screen was translucent, so the figure of the two of them were faintly visible. Xiao Qiye's fingers slid along the shadow to the position where Shen Zequin's neck was. Although there was no physical contact, it still ignited a heat in Shen Zequin, as if he was being caressed. Shi Hongxian has invited you for a drink. Xiao Qiye said with certainty. Shen Zequin's response was nonchalant. The pads of Xiao Qiye's fingers slid down to Shen Zequin's collar as he asked, was it good drinking with the courtesans? Shen Zequin replied unhurriedly, yes. Xiao Qiye asked, did you drink until you felt hot? Shen Zequin replied, I did. Xiao Qiye was feeling hot, too. 3 of his fingers slid down, seemingly along Shen Zequin's neck, to pry apart the front flaps of his clothes before slipping further down. Instead of retreating, Shen Zequin advanced and let Xiao Qiye's fingers slid across his chest through the mist-like ink painting screen. Do you wear earrings? Xiao Qiye suddenly asked. I don't. Shen Zequin tilted his head slightly to expose his ear. Do you want me to wear earrings? Second young master will make a little jasper earring and gift it to you to play with. Xiao Qiye said. 1. With his eyes closely following Shen Zequin's hazy neck and ear, Xiao Qiye said, wear it on the right ear. Xiao Qiye would use his right hand to turn him over. Then he only had to lower his head slightly and he would be able to take his earlobe into his mouth. Jasper set against satiny white skin, his dazed and satiated expression, as his sweat-drenched hair at his ears were brushed aside, would surely be a sight to behold. Shen Zequin did not answer, but he revealed a suggestive smile through the screen. Xiao Qiye could not see his eyes clearly, but he could see the corners of his lips. He was subconsciously exuding that kind of beaconing air again, as if saying, hug me. Touch me. Xiao Qiye closed his eyes, feeling that Shen Zequin always left him wanting more every time. These kind of voiceless bidding seemed to urge his surging waves of desire to crash over him even more violently. He swore that he was not originally a man who could be this easily aroused. His desires initially lay in the blue dome of heaven and the grassy wildernesses. The wine at Hua Pavilion is delicious, as is the wine at Zhangyun Villa. Shen Zequin was unaware of the implications of his silence. But you've been hanging out in Zhangyun Villa for years. I supposed you didn't expect the courtesans of Zhangyun Villa to throw themselves into someone else's arms. 2. There's always a difference between a new lover and the old flames. Xiao Qiye said, it's only natural for them to be jealous now that I'm indulging myself in you. I didn't know that Zhangyun Villa was under Shi Hongxuan's control either. Shen Zequin said. What are you going to do now that they are unanimously claiming that you took bribes? Are you going to get these old flames to amend their testimonies by melting them with tenderness? Xiao Qiye retracted his hand and said, the owner of Zhangyun Villa is not Shi Hongxian. At least not while I was still hanging around there. Courtesan Xiang Yun of Zhangyun Villa is resourceful. She has a reputation for being talented amongst the civil officials and even the students of the Imperial Academy. With that bit of learning Shi Hongxian has, he would never be able to bring her under his control. You mean? There are only 2 possibilities that can make Zhangyun commit perjury. One is that she fell in love with some noble young master and was willing to stomp on me for the sake of the other party. The second is that she was coerced by someone and had no other choice but to submit fake testimony. Xiao Qiye said, if it's the latter, we'll need to investigate it properly. Seems like your old flame still carries some weight in your heart. Shen Zequin smiled and said. Xiao Qiye said, Qiang Yun was the one who leaked news of the surveillance deployment in the Chu capital every time. Now that she has abruptly switched allegiances, I can't bear to see her suffer, too. What a considerate man. Shen Zequin said, the period after the new year is crucial. Whether or not you can turn the table around and make a comeback at the start of spring depends on how you take a beating now. So, don't you lose your head and go around messing your plan up for the sake of a beauty. I'm idling away at home at present. I can't get out, so I'll have to ask you to help me investigate. Xiao Qiye said, during your investigation, please pass a message to Qiang Yun while you are at it. Tell her that second young master Xiao is still thinking of rekindling old flames with her. Shen Zequin pushed away the screen gently and said, I'm busy with work these days. I'm afraid I don't have the time. Why not ask Ding Tao or Gu Jin to make a trip for you? Having finally able to get a clear view of him, Xiao Qiye said, why? Don't you just happen to be residing on Donglong Street? Shen Zequin was about to answer when he suddenly heard the sounds of footsteps outside. Before he could move, Xiao Qiye suddenly bent over and hoisted him over his shoulder. In a few steps, he leaped over the long table and brought Shen Zequin into the inner chamber. Yu Xiaoze lifted the hem of his robe and ascended the stairs. He knocked on the door and called out, Your Excellency the Judge. His Excellency the Judge was pressed up so close against the wall behind the cloth racks that he could not answer. That normal everyday was covering his body all over. Shen Zequin backhandedly pressed his palm against Xiao Qiye's chest and turned his neck to the side, wanting to reply, but Xiao Qiye suddenly held him high. Shen Zequin bumped into the clothes rack. Seeing that the clothes rack was about to tilt over to the ground, he immediately raised his leg to stop it from tumbling down. Xiao Qiye exploited the opening and lifted Shen Zequin's other leg to his waist, thereby trapping the Shen Zequin in front of him. He has the authority to present the memorial directly to the Emperor for His Majesty's review. Xiao Qiye said slowly. If he were to see you and me together, there'll be no way we can ever explain our way out of this. Yu Xiaoze knocked on the door again and asked, Is Your Excellency the Judge here? Shen Zequin grabbed hold of Xiao Qiye's hand and said in a hushed tone, Taking advantage of someone in a predicament is not what a gentleman should do. Me? Taking advantage? With his hands cupping Shen Zequin's buttocks, Xiao Qiye pressed his nose in and smiled, That's right. I'm taking advantage of you while you are in a predicament. Shen Zequin locked eyes with him, his chest heaving slightly. After quite a while of not getting a response, Yu Xiaoze pushed the door open. With the search warrant under his arm, Yu Xiaoze strode in and started to survey the room as he readied himself to search. Shen Zequin slowly hooked his long leg back to return the clothes rack into place. His waist and buttocks had to move ever so slightly as he stretched out his leg. But now, they were being cupped in Xiao Qiye's palms. It was only after he broke out in a thin layer of sweat that he managed to steady the clothes racks. Once the clothes rack was stabilized, Xiao Qiye pressed in against his ear and whispered very softly, Actually, it won't topple over. Shen Zequin looked at him out of the corners of his eyes and mouthed the words with a smile, You son of a bitch. Xiao Qiye readily accepted it and said into his ear, So, wear an earring. Lanzo. Yu Xiaoze mumbled something to himself. After looking through the antechamber, he headed for the inner chamber. Shen Zequin wanted to move, but Xiao Qiye persisted in pressing against him with the stance of one who would not step aside if he did not nod his head. Where one, Xiao Qiye's breaths moistened Shen Zequin's ears. The heat was breathed so deep inside that Shen Zequin's spine tingled with numbness. Xiao Qiye murmured with a smile, Wear it for my viewing pleasure. Wear it for my viewing pleasure. What an arrogant and presumptuous request it was. Xiao Qiye no longer avoided his wolfish nature. He pushed and pressed this fervent yet urgent desire towards Shen Zequin, making sure that Shen Zequin felt this scalding heat. The coupling they had that night when they plunged into the abyss was one of desperation and despair, where their bloody chests and abdomens clung inseparably close together as their vulnerabilities lay exposed before the other's eyes. Xiao Qiye did not intend to relieve it all alone after daybreak. He wanted to grab hold of Shen Zequan by the ankle and haul him back little by little to confine him in the sea of desires where there were only the two of them together riding its waves. Yu Xiaozhe had already walked to the side of the hanging curtain. Shen Zequan held on tightly to the fabric on Xiao Qiye's chest, and in this crucial moment, he looked at Xiao Qiye's face in such close quarters. Yu Xiaozhe lifted the curtain again and saw no one in the inner chamber. The clothes rack in the corner was cluttered with everyday clothes. It was inconvenient for him to rummage through them, so he could only use his eyes to size up the place. Shen Zequan, who was lying under the bed, had difficulty breathing. There was no room under the bed for two people to lay over one another at all. The weight of Xiao Qiye's chest as the latter pressed down on him forced him to open his mouth to breathe slowly. This strong and well-built body was truly too heavy. Xiao Qiye lowered his head to stare at him. Shen Zequan immediately sensed it and said soundlessly, "No way. No. Don't." Xiao Qiye kissed him, robbing him of the chance to gasp for breath. Shen Zequan tightened his grip on Xiao Qiye's back, gripping him so hard that it began to hurt. But Xiao Qiye still lured him gradually into a state of suffocation. The sensation of being on the verge of fainting rendered Shen Zequan incapable of warding off Xiao Qiye's offensive. It was like he was drowning in deep waters and only Xiao Qiye was the driftwood that was keeping Shen Zequan afloat. Yet this driftwood was forcefully staking his claim on his territory like huge swells of raging waves battering away at him, wanting him to deeply remember his ruthlessness at this very moment, along with the trepidation of being progressively invaded by him. End chapter. Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 1, I Was an Outcast Liege. Chapter 55, Account Ledgers. With devious intentions, Xiao Qiye raided and seized Shen Zequan's lips and tongue, throwing Shen Zequan's mind into chaos as he was kissed until he became breathless. As the time ticked by, his tightly clenched fingers slowly lost their strength. Being unable to catch his breath caused Shen Zequan to feel vaguely dizzy. In this murky gray narrowness, he fell prey to the net Xiao Qiye set as a trap. He seemed to sink deeper into the water in which he was drowning as the sensation of suffocation intensified. Xiao Qiye kept him in captivity within his arms, holding in his struggles, thereby making himself the one and only person Shen Zequan could rely on at this very moment. Yu Xiaozhe moved to the side of the bed again, his shoes shuffling right beside the two men. The sound of hurried footsteps suddenly rang out from outside. Chen Yang spoke, "So, Your Excellency, the censor is here. Please come with this humble servant. Your Excellency is needed to personally look through the documents found in the study." Thus, Yu Xiaozhe followed him out with the document under his arm. He asked, "Where is His Excellency the judge?" Chen Yang did not dare to look around the room. He led Yu Xiaozhe out and said as he shut the door, "His Excellency the judge was drinking tea at the duty office room earlier. He should be on the way here right now." Yu Xiaozhe asked, "Didn't His Excellency come over way earlier?" Chen Yang replied, "It's so freezing cold. He will only feel refreshed and energized if he drinks a cup of tea to warm himself up." When they had moved further enough, only then did Xiao Qiye leave Shen Zequan's lips a little. Lying beneath him, Shen Zequan recovered his breath. His almost blanked out with his eyes lowered. As he swallowed, his throat bobbed in tandem with the fall and rise of his chest. His lips had been kissed until they had gone bright red and moist. This bout of kissing nearly brought about his end. Xiao Qiye was gasping for breath, too. Shen Zequan reached a hand out from under the bed. He moved to get out as he struggled to speak, "You this." Xiao Qiye extended a hand to grab his outstretched wrist. Then he pressed the tip of his nose against him and kissed him once more. The last time, Shen Zequan had said that Xiao Qiye was ravenously gorging himself. The latter obviously bore a grudge with him for this. So this time, Xiao Qiye really took his time savoring and devouring as he played around with kissing Shen Zequin. Every time Shen Zequin attempted to speak, Xiao Qiye would kiss him and forced him to dissolve his words between their intermingling tongues before making him swallow them all back into his stomach. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. It was a little less than an hour later when Yu Xiaozhe saw Shen Zequin again. He stepped forth to pay his obeisances and turned pale with alarm. Deeply concerned, he asked, "Your Excellency, this. I got scalded." Shen Zequin replied expressionlessly. The Jinyi Wei nearby were still flipping through that extensive library of books. Ji Qingqing came over and shook his head at Shen Zequin. They were originally just here to go through the motions. Seeing that it was almost time, Shen Zequin said to Yu Xiaozhe, "The inspections here are almost done, so why don't you and I head for the office compound first to report back to His Excellency Fu?" Yu Xiaozhe concurred and surveyed the place again. He said, "The Viceroy is still sitting outside. To avoid suspicions, we should let him know before we leave." Shen Zequin silently pressed the tip of his tongue against the corner of his lips and nodded his head in response. Sure enough, when they went out, Xiao Qiye was still sitting by the side of the pond fishing with the same woven raincoat draped over him. It was as if he had been sitting there all day and had gone nowhere else. "It's already late. Why don't both excellencies have your meal first before you leave?" Xiao Qiye was holding up the fishing rod with his legs propped up. Who knew if he had even caught a fish yet? Yu Xiaozhe declined the offer and excused himself. "Having imposed on your excellency for the entire day, I wouldn't dare to tarry any longer. Next time, I'll play host and treat both excellencies to a cup of wine. Sure, I wouldn't say no to drinking." Xiao Qiye shook his rod and lifted a small silver crucian carp out of the water. He laughed out loud, tossed the fish into the basket, then set aside the rod, and carried the basket over. Bending over slightly to emerge out of the grove, he tossed the basket to Yu Xiaozhe and said, "I owe your excellency you for the consideration you have shown me today. These fishes are a small token of my thanks." Some snowy fog fell upon them. Yu Xiaozhe was still looking at the fish basket with his head lowered, thus, he was not paying any attention to the other two men. Shen Zequin looked at Xiao Qiye, who casually rubbed his right ear with his thumb. Shen Zequin promptly averted his eyes. Overwhelmed by the favor, Yu Xiaozhe said in response, "Oh no, how can I?" "Why not?" Xiao Qiye patted Yu Xiaozhe and said, "Don't tell me that the Chief Surveillance Bureau would even consider these few fishes a bribe." Yu Xiaozhe said hurriedly, "It's not that. Come over often in the future." Xiao Qiye moved aside to make way. "Chen Yang, send them off." Being inexplicably thanked threw Yu Xiaozhe off. He was still unsure what to make of it when he stepped out of the door. Shen Zequin was about to get into the carriage when he suddenly touched his right earlobe, feeling as though the spot had been rubbed rotten by that hoodlum. It was so scalding hot that it made him feel vexed. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Fu Linye was in the Imperial Army's office compound, sitting in anticipation with his legs raised. Meng Rui attended to him at the side. Seeing him drink cup after cup of tea without even shifting from where he sat, Meng Rui knew that he would not leave unless he pried something out of them. Meng Rui was fed up deep down, but he did not dare to let it show even the slightest. He continued to serve him high-quality tea and said with a smile, "Your Excellency the Censor-in-Chief Fu has already looked through the Imperial Army accounts books. The various lords of the Ministry of Revenue have tallied them, too. If your Excellency has something else to check, please feel free to tell this humble servant." Fu Linye said unperturbed, "Things like account books have to be carefully audited again and again. There may well be an omission or mistake somewhere. This kind of thing should not be rushed. Take another look." Wei Huixing said that Xiao Qiye's repairs of the compound and expansion of the military drill grounds in recent years could not be accounted for. But in truth, it was all detailed in the Imperial Army's account books. Fu Linye knew that Xiao Qiye was not an easy one to investigate, but he still had to churn out some dirt from this clear water. Otherwise, he could not report favorably back to Wei Huixing. Moreover, Liege was always shielding the imperial army in the past, so when it came to Xiao Qiye, everyone simply let him be and steered clear of him by default. But this time, Liege obviously spurned him. The way the wind was blowing now, it was time to make Xiao Qiye suffer a little. The officials from the Ministry of Revenue who had followed along noisily flicked the beads of the abacus. Lamps had been lit in the hall. Each of them dug into the account books with great focus, loathing their inability to tally each account 700 or 800 times. When Shen Zequin arrived, he even saw Tan Taihu in the corridor. He said nothing while Qiao Tianya, who was in disguise as a Jin Yue, followed him from behind and stepped through the door together with him. The sound of the abacus beads being flicked in the hall rang out endlessly. Fu Linye set aside the teacup and rose to his feet to greet Shen Zequin. Shen Zequin exchanged greetings with him, after which both men took their seats together. Fu Linye asked, "Did the compound search go smoothly?" Shen Zequin said, "Second young master Xiao delayed us for quite some time." Fu Linye inwardly thought to himself, "I knew it." Outwardly, he said with concern, "Did he make a move? That hoodlum is the most overbearing ever. This trip has been hard on your excellency the judge." Shen Zequin thought, "He did make a move, but it has nothing to do with you." Outwardly, he smiled as well and said, "It doesn't matter. I can still endure this bit of hardship for His Majesty. Second young master Xiao initially did not permit me to search his compound. Fortunately, His Excellency Yu was there too and tried his best to persuade him." As if venting on Shen Zequin's behalf, Fu Linye said hatefully, "We are acting on His Majesty's orders. By simply hindering us whenever he wishes to, second young master Xiao not only belittles and disrespects us but His Majesty, too." Shen Zequin looked into the interior of the hall and said, "Your Excellency, is the investigation here not done yet?" Fu Linye replied, "It's done. But it needs to be re-audited a few more times. As you know, account books are the easiest to falsify." Shen Zequin could tell what he meant from those words. After a moment's pause, he said, "Your Excellency is the chief official of the search this time, so I'll do as you say." Fu Linye merely smiled and did not respond. He drank tea with Shen Zequin until the third quarter of the hour of Sui, when the newly audited account books were presented before them. Fu Linye flipped through them and suddenly asked Meng Rui, "At the start of spring last year, a temple was constructed in the palace on imperial decree. The Ministry of Works entrusted the important task of transportation of materials to the imperial army. But then, the construction of the temple fell through. The Viceroy even blocked in the Ministry of Works to demand for money. Is that right?" Meng Rui replied, "That's right. The money was delayed for several months. It was all the imperial army's hard-earned money. The Viceroy was anxious, so he personally went to ask for it." Fu Linye closed the account books and said with a sneer, "Back then, the state treasury's expenditure hadn't been accounted for yet. Even the Directorate of Ceremonies didn't dare to approve it arbitrarily. How did the Viceroy get the money?" Meng Rui said, "Our imperial army didn't get the money. It was the secretary for the Ministry of Revenue, Wang Xian, who made the decision to give a batch of silk from Quan City to the imperial army, and the imperial army traded them for money. This account was also recorded in the book, with its coming and going all clearly accounted for." Fu Linye suddenly smacked the tabletop with a force so hard that the teapot clattered. If not for Qiao Tianya's sharp eyes and swift reaction in catching hold of it, the tea would have poured all over Shen Zequin's legs. Shen Zequin remained smiling in his seat as he waited for Fu Linye to continue. This was an account from the start of spring. At that time, Shen Zequin was still staying at the Temple of Penitence, but he knew of this debt. The reason this debt could be eventually resolved was in truth not because of Wang Xian but Shueziao's woe. Xue Zhuo, then the chief supervising secretary of the Ministry of Revenue, was the one who stepped forth to mediate and settle the debt by offering Xiao Qiye the silk from Quan City. Shen Zequin tapped his fingers on his knee. He thought, this account is a loophole. Sure enough, Fu Linye put on a show of authority and questioned Meng Rui. This account book indicates that a total of 660 silks were allocated to the imperial army. You people recorded it as low-grade silk from Quan City, but the Chu capital treasury records stated that they were all top-grade silk from Quan City. It's just a word difference between low-grade and top-grade, but the difference is 4,000 taels. I'm asking you, where did these more than 4,000 taels go? Meng Rui's reaction was swift. He answered methodically, those allocated to us were indeed low-grade silk from Quan City. The material was given by the Ministry of Revenue themselves, and the handwritten transfer order indicated them to be low-grade silk from Quan City. Fu Linye flung down the account book and said, of course. Wang Xian, right? He has long been colluding with you people. He wrote low-grade silk from Quan City on the handwritten transfer order, but the treasury records clearly state that it was top-grade silks from Quan City that had been taken out. What benefits did Xiao Qiye give Wang Xian that would make Wang Xian forge such a fake order? Shocked, Meng Rui said, you have no proof? Your Excellency Fu, just. The way I see it, the imperial army is a front for harvesting ill-gotten gains. Xiao Qiye has been making a fortune through you people. Anyone with eyes can see it for themselves how he has been fooling around on Donglong Street all these years, eating, drinking, and making merry. He has Wang Xian working in cahoots with him from beforehand, and Yuan Lu currying favor and offering him gold peaches after. All Xiao Qiye does with the backing of His Majesty's favor accords him is to engage in shady deals to line his own pockets. Fu Linye laughed nastily. Your Excellency the Judge, see this? The number one upstart is actually a thieving traitor. Tonight, you and I shall do another in-depth investigation. There will surely be more of such rotten accounts. Shen Zequin looked at Fu Linye until Fu Linye started to feel apprehensive. Then Shen Zequin said, this matter has nothing to do with the assassination attempt case, so this one is not within the scope of my duty. It's all up to your Excellency to decide. Fu Linye had initially intended to drag Shen Zequin down with him and make an accomplice out of him, but he wavered a little when he saw that Shen Zequin did not fall for it. However, this matter could be considered a big deal if he reported it to the top. He was not willing to lose the merit for this, and so he steeled himself. He slapped the table and said, run another audit. Check all the Imperial Army's account books over the years for hundreds and thousands of times. Shen Zequin suddenly smiled and averted his gaze as he sat on the chair and drank his tea. Although he was smiling on the surface, his heart was gradually sinking. If it were not for Xue Zhuo's involvement in this account, he might not even have noticed it. Most likely, Xiao Qiye himself had forgotten about it, too. Could it be that Xue Zhuo was already on guard against the Imperial Army from that time onwards? Shen Zequin blew at the tea foam in silence. End chapter. Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 1, I Was an Outcast Liege. Chapter 56, Fanning the Fire. The lights in the Imperial Army's office compound remained lit until dawn. The men from the Ministry of Revenue audited until their heads spun. At long last, they sorted out the problematic accounts and handed them over into Fu Linye's hands. Shen Zequin reviewed them all. Fu Linye attached the memorial and submitted them together with the progress of the assassination case to Liege and Heng's desk. The Grand Secretariat then discussed this matter in front of the Emperor. Fu Linye said, Your Majesty, one can know the flavor of the entire pot by sampling a morsel. It can be seen from this case that Xiao Qiye has been taking bribes for a long time. The power and authority of the Imperial Army has been in Xiao Qiye's control over these years. I'm afraid that there is still many more falsified accounts like this one. The State Treasury is currently struggling to raise the funds for disbursement, and the local tax arrears owed have been piling up one after another. Keeping this kind of people around is like putting a fire under a pile of firewood, a danger whom I fear will jeopardize the state. Kong Qiu had looked through the books, too. But he said, the assassination case is still pending. It's really not fitting to complicate matters at this time. In this subject's opinion, the investigation for the bribery case can be postponed. At present, we must focus on the assassination case. How strange, Wei Huixing scoffed. It's all related to him, Xiao Qi Ye. So why should we investigate the cases separately? We might as well pull out the radish along with the mud and make use of this opportunity to conclude the cases altogether. Kong Qiu remained unmoved and said, this case has already deviated from the main point. The way I see it, you people do not want to expose the mastermind behind the assassination but to use this chance to root out dissidents. Fu Linye immediately retorted, the bribery case is the melon we followed the vines to dig out. Why is it that when Minister Kong investigates, he is investigating the case, but when we do it, we are attacking his faults? The duty of the Chief Surveillance Bureau is to supervise. Was it wrong of me to impeach him for taking bribes? Kong Qiu said, Wang Xian has not yet been put on trial. If we can pass a judgment on the bribery case just based on your words alone, then what need is there for the joint trial by the 3 judicial offices in the future? We might as well let Your Excellency Fu make the rulings alone. What the Ministry of Justice has to investigate now is to verify the confession statement presented by His Excellency Wei. By the end of the night, I have not even examined the witness testimony and you people are already so anxious to convict him. What's the hurry? Even if he was at fault that you want to sentence him, you still have to follow the rules and regulations. Otherwise, where does the law stand? The 3 men began to quarrel before the emperor. Unable to get a word in, Liege could only look at Hai Lianji. Hai Lianji sat and listened with his head inclined. Once he finished listening to what everyone had to say, he gave a slight nod of his head. Liege hurriedly asked, what does the Secretariat Elder think? What would the Secretariat Elder think? Shenzhequan fiddled with the copper coins. Naturally, he would dismiss the memorial for the bribery case. Hai Lianji has been rigorous for so long that everyone regards him as a straightforward minister who is his own person. But he's the first one who brought down Huasiqian and supported Liege Anheng. It would be strange if he still can't tell that something's up. Shi Hongxian and the others want to use him as a shield to make their move this time. Little would they imagine that the Secretariat Elder has long been sitting on the fishing boat, keeping a constant eye on the brewing storm. You've done well. Grand Tutor Qi sat at the other end of the small table. Instead of stopping Fu Linye, you let him make the decision. This credit is all his alone. He is bound to get anxious and subsequently, he'd be unwilling to wait for a good timing. He would want to present the memorial right at once in an attempt to earn praises. From that round of denouncement before the emperor, Hai Lianji would already have gotten an inkling of what's happening. By now, he must have already guessed who are the ones who want to take down Xiao Qi Ye. I'm just fanning the fire with the wind as this fire isn't raging hard enough. Shenzhequan said, it can't even burn Xiao Qi Ye, let alone Xiao Jiming. If they really investigate it seriously, the silk from Quan City issue is nothing but a bookkeeping mess that everyone knows all too well. The important thing now is not to reverse the verdict and clear his name, but how to make His Majesty be partial to him. That's right. The reprimand from the suspension of the authority token may seem serious, but in truth, it was merely a superficial slap on the wrist. His Majesty definitely has yet to harbor the notion of stripping away Xiao Qi Ye's military power. Grand Tutor Qi grasped the Wiki stone and pondered over it for a while before he said, you have to let him stay this way. Never let him entertain the intent to take down second young Master Xiao. Otherwise, it will be a great disaster in the making even if this is a small victory. Shenzhen pushed over the copper coins that had been neatly arranged and began to stack them up again, one at a time. Tirelessly enjoying himself, he said, Liege has control of the Grand Secretariat. Although he has placed men of noble birth like Shuiziozhuo and the others in key positions to use them, he has also set up an imperial academy and is promoting the minor officials from humble backgrounds. Teacher, he wants to take the progressive approach and confront the noble clan slowly. Just based on this alone, he cannot let second young master Xiao fall. The Xiao clan is keeping their composure because they understand these all too well. Xiao Jiming is simply sitting and watching without doing a thing because this battlefield is limited to Chu capital and doesn't extend anywhere near Liege. That makes it easy to resolve, and second young master Xiao would have fewer issues from home to worry about. Grand Tutor Qi placed the Wiki stone down and continued, everyone is now excitedly kicking a man when he's down. His Majesty is still angry, and so, he thinks of second young master Xiao as a disloyal, unfilial, and unrighteous person. But once the fire is big enough, it will burn in reverse. Then, His Majesty ought to change the status quo and come to pity his old friend who is all by his lonesome self instead. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Li Jianheng had not seen Miru for a few days. After the assassination attempt, he had to sleep with his surroundings brilliantly lit. Not one of the eunuchs were allowed to step into his sleeping chamber, and those attending to him at present were all palace maidservants. It was snowing heavily again today. Liege was sick, so he could not go near the emperor. Li Jianheng got the Imperial Academy of Medicine to head to his residence to take a look at him and even bestowed upon him a good deal of tonics. He also assured him repeatedly that he would study hard as usual, and not fall behind on his studies. Mingli Hall had quietened down. Li Jianheng flipped through a few pages of the book before he felt his back aching. He got up to look out of the window and saw the snow flying all over the sky like cotton. Suddenly in the mood, he summoned the palace maidservants to dress him and drape his cloak over his body so he could head out to appreciate the snow. Li Jianheng roamed the garden with his entourage. When he saw the ice frozen over the lake, he recalled the ice bed he used to play with in the palace. It's just the time to play when winter water freezes into ice. Li Jianheng asked around him. Why didn't anyone bring this up to Zhen's attention this year? The moment the words left his mouth, he remembered why. Emperor Xian had just passed away this year, and it would not do for him to create a disturbance or cause trouble during the state mourning period. Else, the Chief Surveillance Bureau would scold him. Thinking about this dampened his mood again. No longer wanting to see the snow, he sent someone to call for Miru. Miru arrived wearing a cape with a hood. Her posture was graceful as she walked among the snow with someone supporting her. On seeing her through the window, Li Jianheng immediately stepped out of the door to meet her. My darling, Li Jianheng said, the view of you walking in the snow is truly a sight to behold. Zhen have to get someone to draw it down so that Zhen can hang it up in the palace to look at it every day. Miru lifted the hood of her cape and said with a smile, how would that do? She took the food container from the maidservant's hands and said, the weather is cold. I've made soup for Lu Lang. Li Jianheng's mood soared when he heard her calling him Lu Lang. He led her inside by the hand and dismissed the attendants, then he took his seat at the dragon throne, which he used to handle governmental affairs. Miru ladled out the soup for Li Jianheng, who groused, the assassination attempt by the castrated traitor the last time scared Zhen so much that Zhen could hardly sleep well these days. Miru coaxed him, there's only just the two of us here now. So why is Lu Lang using such a formal term again? Li Jianheng gave himself a light slap on his own mouth and said, this husband of yours is so muddle-headed. Miru cupped his face in her hands and looked carefully for a moment before saying, you do indeed look haggard. I'll keep you company tonight, all right. You're the only one in the entire world who dotes on me. I originally treated Cian as a brother, but who knew that he would now be implicated in the assassination attempt? Li Jianheng let out a long sigh. Just stay with me. Miru said, Her Majesty is very concerned for Lu Lang, too. She has been chanting the sutras and going on a vegetarian diet these few days, all to pray for a peaceful new year for Lu Lang. Li Jianheng caressed Miru's hand and said, I wasn't close with Imperial Mother in the past, and I saw her as the villain. Who knew that she could still treat me so kindly today? Alas. It's all the fault of that old dog, Hua Saiqian. Who said it isn't? Miru looked at him fondly. Lu Lang has suffered much all because of the trouble that Hua Saiqian stirred up. Her Majesty admonished him every way she could back then, but in the end, she's still a woman whose words hold no weight against a man's. He brushed off her advice and even blamed her instead. They say what you hear is just hearsay, one should only believe it when they see it for themselves, Li Jianheng said regretfully. If I could have gotten along with Imperial Mother earlier, there would not have been so many misunderstandings between us. There was an opportunity in the past. Miru seemed to hesitate. I heard that many years ago when Lu Lang was still an infant, Her Majesty was already raising the former crown prince, but seeing that Lu Lang had no one to rely on, she thought of taking Lu Lang back to her palace to raise as well. Emperor Guangcheng gave his agreement, too. Li Jianheng had never heard of this and could not refrain from probing further. Then what happened later? Why didn't she take me back? Miru soothed him for a while before replying. Later on, the Prince of Liege, Xiao Fangxiu, submitted a memorial saying that by adopting the former crown prince, Her Majesty had the heavy responsibility of nurturing the heir apparent to the Eastern Palace. The crown prince is all grown. Raising another prince might be just inviting internal strife. Li Jianheng said, Li, so it's the Prince of Liege. The seeds of discord had already been sown between him and Xiao Qiye. All sorts of mixed feelings instantly welled up in him when he heard of this old matter and thought about how Xiao Qiye had never once mentioned it. He felt that Xiao Qiye was too unfathomably shrewd and had never really opened his heart to him as a friend. He's so. When all is said and done, Li Jianheng said bitterly. He's the same as everyone else who treats me as a stepping stone. How pitiable am I to be born a noble, yet not even have a good friend I can rely on. Miru hugged him and said, You aren't biological brothers after all. Who can compare to the former emperor when it comes to treating Lu Lang well? A pity. A pity the imperial heirs of our Li clan are few and far between. There's only me left now. At this point, Li Jianheng suddenly asked Miru, Your younger brother has been hiding at Shuiziao's residence ever since Pan Rugui was beheaded. Is he doing fine now? Miru replied, Yes, then she turned around and covered her face to sob. Li Jianheng hurriedly asked, My dear Miru, what's wrong? Why are you crying? As Miru wiped her tears with a handkerchief, she looked at him tearfully and said, He's doing fine, but he's not by my side after all, and I can only see him once every few months. He isn't like any other brother who can still make meritorious contributions to serve the sovereign. All he can do now is to wait upon others. Li Jianheng could not bear to see her cry the most. He immediately said, All you had to do was to tell me earlier and it'd all be fine, wouldn't it? We are husband and wife of the same mind. I'm willing to do anything for you. What's more, this is human nature. Don't cry. My heart is going to break from your tears. My dear Miru. I'll get Shuiziao's Wo to send him back tomorrow and put him on duty at my side, all right. With tears in her eyes, Miru said, How could that do? How are you going to justify it to the Secretariat Elder? The others won't agree either. I can't bear to put you in a difficult spot. Li Jianheng held her in his arms and said, I'm the emperor. I have the final say when it comes to affairs in the palace. Besides, if we get him to change his name, who can really insist on digging up his past? Pan Rugui is already dead. Miru let him coax her for a while before she broke into a smile and said, Feng Quan would want to kowtow his thanks to you too. Li Jianheng said generously, We are family. by all sentiment and logic, it's what I ought to do. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. A few days later, the assassination case was still under investigation. Yuan Lu was tortured and his confession was overturned, yet he insisted that he had never sent golden peaches to Xiao Qiye and did not know a single thing about the shady deal with the Donglong broker. Several times under heavy torture, he thought of giving in and getting it done and over with. But the moment the thought crossed his mind, he would remember that his entire family's life was still in Xiao Qiye's hands. Yuan Lu had been with the imperial army for a long time. He knew Xiao Qiye was a different man when it came to treating outsiders compared to insiders. Second young master Xiao said he would take care of his son on his behalf, and that meant that he would truly look after his son for him. If he so much as said a wrong word, his son would be a goner too. Yuan Lu was caught in the middle of this power struggle, unable to seek life or death. All he could hope was for the case to conclude as soon as possible so that he could be given a quick end. The opportunity to conclude the case soon came. The matter kept taking a turn for the worse. Memorials impeaching Xiao Qiye came thick and fast. Strangely enough, after Liege personally took up his brush to berate Xiao Qiye, the secretary for the Ministry of Justice submitted a report before the emperor and said that their investigation had led them to a person. This person's name was Yanzu. He was a eunuch from the imperial bakery. According to his oral testimony, he had been distributing fortune cookies to the various imperial concubines 4 hours before the feast of 100 officials was due to start when he saw someone scolding Fu Ling at the side of Kwei Palace. And Kwei Palace just happened to be the place where Miru was residing. End chapter. Note. Lang meaning young man, it's a form of address. Also used as a term of endearment by a woman to address her lover or husband. The Lu refers to sixth, presumably Li Jianheng is the sixth prince.